Ayca, Aydogdu, and welcome to Tell Me. I'm a presenter on TRT World and currently in shielding due to an illness that I have that puts me in the extreme vulnerable category because of the coronavirus. Now, it's been about 5 months and it's an ongoing journey, but I'm still presenting from home and I want to hear from you on Tell Me because you are not alone. This is solely dedicated to you, whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't have to dominate the headlines. It may be the headlines. So let's talk, disagree, and have a little laugh. Now, this week we're talking about the verdict on humanity, our verdict. So have we ended up liking or loathing each other during this outbreak? Are we better or worse? Now, to talk on this further, joining me on the program today, I have two guests, manager at Refresh Yourself, Dilek, Polat, Sesli, and psychologist and executive director of Behavioral Associates, Dr. Robertreiner. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us today on the program. So, Dilek, starting off with you there, let's watch Özlem from Chicago, what she has to say about this.
Özlem Shitan here from Chicago, Illinois. I believe the pandemic has changed us in two ways, for the better and for the worse. It's reminded us of our own fragility, which in turn has made us embrace our family, our friends, and our relationships a whole lot more. It's made us more introspective, it's given us space for gratitude, it's made us less consumerist. We appreciate things like nature, creativity, art, a cup of tea, and even our jobs a whole lot more. On the flip side, this primal fear that we now have for our lives is making us act a little irrationally. I've seen instances of people being a lot more ruthless, a lot more judgmental, a lot less patient with each other. And one example this morning was a mom was complaining her 5-year-old daughter was yelled at by someone they didn't know for not wearing a mask. Now, this behavior would be actually applauded by a lot of people these days, so it's just a small example of how formerly despicable behavior is currently considered commendable. So definitely, it's changed us, some for the worse, and luckily, some for the better.
Now, Dilek, of course, there are things that are better and worse. I can say for myself that, of course, I appreciate my family and my friends because I've missed them so much. But outside our own bubble, really, when it comes as an individual during this pandemic, has it influenced our social behavior? What do you think?
Yes, hi Ayca. I think it has actually affected our social behavior because with the pandemic, we started to learn and actually unlearn new habits. But it is about learning new things and changing, so adapting to the new situation. And accordingly, we have to adapt with our social behavior. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, 14 and 12 years of age, of 2 boys, and I try to be a role model. As Özlem said, I try to behave COVID safe, wearing a mask, keeping physical distance, virtual hugging or elbow greeting, things like that. But it's again about being kind to each other, maybe even more kind as we were before, and encourage each other. So I think, yes, the pandemic definitely changed our social behavior.
Now let's bring in Dr. Robertreiner there. Robert, we have a video from Holly in the UK. Let's watch that and take it from there.
So it's my opinion that we've ended up liking each other more as a result of this global pandemic and the lockdown. Particularly, there's more compassion and there's more understanding towards each other, towards the vulnerable members of our society as well. So those groups of people or those individuals that we're now very aware of, who we can continue to support financially or with our time if we're lucky enough to have those resources available to us. And we've all been through the same global pandemic, albeit experienced it in different ways and have dealt with it in different ways as well. And I know there's been a big uptake of meditation classes, breathing classes, relaxation, exercise classes, all to help to lift the spirits and to manage some of that anxiety that's been circling around in the last few months. And so all of that serves to bring people closer together.
So, Robert, that's a very positive outlook there, and we've all are going through the same pandemic, but do we all react in the same way?
It's kind of like a high-powered zoom lens on a camera. It highlights the good, it highlights the not so good. in my opinion, the biggest problem is the lack of predictability, the uncertainty about the future. And in the human brain, that creates a sense of uncertainty, which is why the anxiety rate is jacked up universally. There's a sense of vigilance stemming from the lack of predictability about the future. So I think that, yeah, the good stuff is certainly being highlighted, but some of the bad stuff is too, especially people's anxieties. The concept of wearing a mask, which is people who don't wear masks are viewed as being selfish, that the mask has no value to the person wearing it, but means everything to people who you come in contact with.
And Robert, as you said, especially wearing masks, and I can see that's been an issue in many countries. It's been a confrontation between people because some believe and some don't. But why don't we act collectively in this matter? Is it social norms? Is it depending on the country where we live?
Yeah, I think it all comes from the top. Our leaders are our role models, and it's confusing when we're getting, in the United States anyway, mixed messages from the government. There's really, unfortunately, not a strong sense of people don't know what to do. And when there's confusion, there's anxiety, and people form very quick judgments. So that just adds to the sense of uncertainty, which is why people are far more anxious than they were a year ago at this time.
So in that sense, I'm getting for human behavior to be positive and strong and maybe collective, we need strong leadership and set certain guidelines that we know how we feel, so we feel certain. So I'll bring back Dilek in there. Dilek, we have a video from Iceland from Sonja. Let's watch that and take it from there.
Hi, my name is Sonja Björk. I'm a coffee roaster, a barista and a barista trainer. I live in Reykjavik in Iceland. Running a business normally is like a stressful thing, but during the lockdown and the coronavirus, I was so amazed to see how easily we could actually adjust. We could very easily adjust our time, and we could all slow a little bit down. And we could also give friends and family much more time in our busy schedule. So this is what I really enjoyed, that this was the outcome of the lockdown, was that it was so easy. Why are we not doing it all the time? And then after having international Zoom meetings with my coffee friends, it was also the same, being respectful towards each other and listen and share and just like laugh together and support each other. Through like if it was a business or if it was just like a family crisis. And so I hope that we will never go back how it used to be before COVID. But of course we are humans, and the humans are not known for learning from their mistakes. Although I want us to be like better, like we are today. And I think like we will just have to take one day at a time and just hope for the best. So see you there with a huge love from Iceland.
Now that was Sonja's experience there from Iceland, Dilek, and you yourself run an event platform which you had to take online during these crises. It's a platform where people meet called Refresh Yourself, talk about well-being, health, nutrition, architecture, whatever comes to mind. So in your experience, how has it been when you interact with all those people from around the world? Is it better or worse?
First of all, I would like to say I really like the approach of Sonja, because she's quite, I could see like a growth and an open mindset she's sharing there with us. So what I tried actually very similar to Sonja, just to look at the good side of it. I mean, it was very challenging, especially as you said, to take it from offline, from meeting one-to-one to having, an audience, to a digital platform. But I have to say, as much as it was challenging and interesting, it was also very eye-opening, as it helped me to get out of my comfort zone, as I was a little bit scared of the digital world. But then seeing how easy and simple it was, it really helped me to be occupied and going through the difficult first 2 weeks, let's say, and especially having the opportunity to meet with the ones who are not living here in the UK, in London. It was wonderful, I have to say. It was really like a new opportunity to meet up with friends who live in Poland, in Turkey, in Germany, in Dubai, and we connected. We shared our experience. We shared our anxiety and fear, and got the advantage to share it with others as well. So in that way, I think it was challenging, but it was very easy. And now I always say, it's not, I don't only have social media friends, I have Zoom friends, I have Zoom relationships, I have Zoom ships, and I hope this will be over soon, but I will continue to have it online, I have to say. Yes.
So in certain ways actually took us out of our bubbles, of our social bubbles, of our comfort zones, and not just the bad, it brought the positiveness of bringing people together, especially on an international level, even if it's not face-to-face interaction. Now I'll bring back Robert in here. Robert, we have really good quotes as well shared by our viewers. This one I particularly liked by Robertreiner, and it says, "The language of staying safe and looking out for one another has become mainstream all of a sudden. However, we need to heed the warnings that has not yet passed us. Our lives and world are both precious and fragile. We need to channel the optimism of caring and reach for the most vulnerable today and always." That's very nice words there. But can we really channel that optimism? How does the human mind react to fear and panic, especially after isolation? And what is the moral perception here? Do we end up thinking collectively or even less so?
Question is, how do we direct our energy to the common good? This is kind of like an acid test to people. You learn a lot about people's characters under stress and how they respond. Some people respond generously for the common good. Other people are out just to save their skin. So we're kind of getting extremes in both examples. You're seeing the whole realm of human behavior from the good to the bad. So anything we can do to encourage pro-social behavior, I'm all for that.
And Robert, in terms of when it comes to especially health workers and key workers here, do you think our behaviour towards them will change after this, as we have we realised the importance of our health workers and key workers?
I hope so. History tells us that when things do return to normal, some people will remember this and view these people with the respect they deserve, but others won't. Somebody said before, the history of human nature is that we don't learn from our mistakes, and that's unfortunately true. That's why learning history is so important, but you need the will to implement what you're learning. As long as people continue to respond with gut reactions, as opposed to really thinking about things and looking at data, we're going to have problems. That's why science, in my opinion, should be guiding all decisions right now and not people's gut reactions.
Well, thanks for that, Robert, of course. And as you said, it is very unfortunate if we forget all about this and don't learn the lessons that we need to learn. So let's watch the next video from Tehran in Iran, Fahrud Tajvidi, and take it from there, Dilek.
Hi everyone. As you know, we are all coping with healthy precautions to live healthier in our daily life. We are confined to our houses. In the last week, after a long time, I have decided to visit my grandparents, who are in a vulnerable group due to their old age. So I have not gone to anywhere in the last 2 weeks to visit them in a very safe way. Staying at home told me a great, tremendous message. I understand that I should spend more time than before with the people who lives with me and respect and love them more than before, because any time world can differ.
Now, he mentions there's grandmother Dilek, and I want to take it from there because all over the world, one of the revelations during this coronavirus, during the pandemic, has been how vulnerable the elderly is, especially those in care homes and not looked after. So is age-based division getting worse, especially now that the young people actually face an uncertain future, more tough times coming ahead, social and economic consequences facing them? So will our attitudes shift, or will we neglect them even more?
I think we have to reconsider the systems we are living in, and that starts with the family, the community, the neighbors, the country. So it's all connected to each other, and it's a system. So reconsidering that system will show us that we have to care for each other, that we have to look after each other, as he said in the video. So taking responsibility is very important as a young person, taking responsibility of the elderly in the community, asking them, do they need any help? You know, even the neighbors, we probably just say hello. Why not knock at their doors and ask if they really have a kind of need so we can support them? So I think, yes, we have to reconsider and change the way we are living together. And that obviously, especially the ones who need more support, and will impact them. So I think here it is important that we say that we need each other and that we support each other and that we take the responsibility to do so.
And as you say that, Dilek, though, it comes to mind, are we asking the young people for too much now, for too much for them to handle going forward? We are saying, respect, of course, your elderly, take care of them, but then again, they're facing a future with not knowing their social, economic aspects in front of them. So are we wanting too much of them?
I think it is just making clear of what each of us, what kind of responsibility we have. Yes, I do agree. This is maybe too much. Again, it's about, let's say, I can talk from my personal experience as I have the 14 and the 12-year-old teenagers at home. And I really try to make my best to make them clear what their responsibility is when they go out and meet their friends, for example. So, and how they socialize and how that might affect us when coming back, and maybe our elderly neighbors. So I think it's again about giving out a clear message to everyone without scaring even the older ones or the younger ones. I mean, yes, there is fear, as Robert said. We are all anxious, still anxious, and the process is still going on. But it's again of getting out the clear message, I think, here.
Yes, and there I'll bring back Robert in there, and let's take it from an Instagram quote from Orhan Çelik 86. So Robert, he says, we have learned a lot during this period about social behavior, and I wouldn't say we loathe each other. Here comes to my mind, though, that with this pandemic, part of the solution is that we need to coordinate our behavior around the world to manage the virus from spreading, such as with health guidelines. So does it become not just a biological problem, but a behavioral one? And can the human being adjust to that we're part of the problem, part of the process?
Yeah, it's been said that the virus knows no borders, and I agree with that. This is an opportunity for the whole world to come together, to beat this thing. In terms of the question that was raised before, are we asking too much of our children? I think no. I think that, at other times during a crisis, people are asked to go to war and really sacrifice their lives for the common good. So I think that asking people to behave in a healthy way is really not asking too much. And a lot of that goes into how we generate it, how we feel about it. If we act like we're asking too much, then people are going to pick that up. If we act like, hey, this is what has to be done, then I think that people are going to buckle up and do the right thing. I'm optimistic about the young generation. So, I don't think it's asking too much at all.
And is it asking too much of people, though, that we become part of the solution to this pandemic, really? If you look at the health guidelines that we're supposed to wear a mask, wash our hands, and these are, of course, all to keep us safe, but it's also not to spread the virus. So, in terms of that, when it comes to human behavior, can the human behavior be part of that solution?
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, this is a matter of exerting your will and making decisions and sacrifices. But, once again, think back to what other generations have been asked to do at times of war. Compare that to being told to wash your hands and wear a mask. I think it's a pretty simple choice of which is easier.
So we have, though, a really nice video here, a cute video from Andres, and he has an important message for us. So let's watch that and take it from there.
We have become better and the environment has been less polluted and cleaner. If we work together, it can really make a difference.
Now, we all visibly, not myself maybe because I'm stuck inside, but many have seen that the change in nature, the change in environment everywhere around the world. There have been pictures all over the internet about it. So when he gives that message, I want to actually ask both of you, let's wrap the program on a sentence or on a note that for the future. First, starting off with you, Dilek, and we'll ponder on those.
I agree with him. I mean, this had a positive impact on nature and environment, actually. But at the same time, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is about changing and adapting to the new situation. And I think what we all have to do, that's my personal responsibility as a human being, is to maintain the proactive approach and keep the open mind. And, whatever happens, it will happen for good. And I, as a person, have to take the responsibility. That's what would be my message to all.
Thank you, Dilek. And Robert, so what's your message, taking the words from Andres there, especially when it comes to nature and environment and going on for the future?
Well, first of all, I was really impressed with that the child's what his concerns were, what he thought was important, what he was optimistic about, concerns about the environment and stuff like that. One of the things we have to remember, and this involves government responses, solving this problem requires long-term thinking. It's kind of like climate control. It doesn't seem to be right in front of you, but it's there. So you've got to kind of think down the road and not in the just 5 seconds ahead of you. I think to the extent that happens, we're going to be okay. It's not a coincidence that the vast differences in governmental responses around the world has been the ability to engage in long-term thinking based on science, not based on visceral reactions. Somebody told me that Vietnam, a country of 95 million people, there have been less than 10 corona deaths, which I found hard to believe, but also incredible compared to what's happening in the United States, which is a catastrophe as far as I'm concerned. So, once again, I'm a real proponent of using science to make decisions, not politics.
So let's not forget and learn our lessons here and be part of that solution collectively. And I'll leave on that note. So thank you very much for joining us, both of you, on the program, Dr. Robertreiner and Dilek Polat Sesli. It was a pleasure talking to you both on Tell Me here. And next week, we will be talking about young people and their concerns and worries for the future. Any questions or thoughts, please do share with me on my Instagram, Chacha-I. And that's it from us on Tell Me, and we will leave you with pictures from around the world of kindness, because you are not alone. Stay safe and sane.